Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dina Okesha, and this video is about 3D trigonometry, or you can just call it how to find an angle between a line and a plane. And I would rather call this 3D trigonometry. Now, before we get into the examples, we need to just remember what are the components of any angle. إيه هي مكونات الأنجل؟ الأنجل عبارة عن vertex and two lines. This is the component of the angle. تمام؟ Vertex and the sides of the angles will be two lines, as you can see. Now let's look at the examples and see how do we solve questions related to 3D trigonometry. I'm going to refer to my classified part 2. This page over here, page number 145. Again, this is classified part 2. Classified part 2, page 145, page 145. Now, as you can see in this question over here, we have a 3D shape. That's why this video is called 3D trigonometry. Okay, here it says A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H is a cuboid. طبعا cuboid is a very important word because it indicates that all of the angles that are formed between the vertices, or all the angles at the vertices, they are all right angles. Even if they do not show that they are right angles, they are. طبعا هنا يا جماعة زي ما انتم شايفين diagram is not accurately drawn، لأن لو جه حد مثلا بص على رسمة زي دي هتيجي تقولوا لي طب مس بصي دي كده هنا شكلها ما هياش 90 degrees. This doesn't look like a 90 degree, okay? And as we said in math, we don't take anything by how it looks, we take by what is written. So it says here that this is a cuboid, يبقى دي fact معناها that all of the angles are 90 degrees. All of the angles are 90 degrees. طبعا زي ما انتم شايفين معلش بس في technical problem اهو خلاص اتصلحت. هنا بيقول لي the cuboid has length كذا 17 17 5 and 8. These are the dimensions. First we need to identify all the equal sides. يعني فين كل السايدز اللي اللينث بتاعها 17؟ ده 17 ده 17 ده 17 وده 17. All the parallel sides to 17 are equal. الفايفات فين الفايفات؟ ده مثلا اهو 5 عندي ده زيه 5 and again this as well is 5 and this dotted line over here this is 5. All of these lines they have a length of 5 centimeter. وطبعا يا جماعة أنا بس هعملهم كده بالأزرق عشان تبقوا عارفين السايدز اللي هي equal. And this is something that you have to know. يعني طبعا ناقص لنا الهايت اللي هو ده 8. All of the parallel lines of this 8 they will all be equal to 8. فده 8 وده 8 وده 8 وده 8 برضه. ده اللي احنا استفدناه من الكلام ده. Okay, let's see here what the question says. The question says work out the size. تمام. طبعا the size means the value of the angle that AH makes with the plane. Now first we need to understand what is meant by the word plane. Now I have a cuboid over here. This is the cuboid. I'm just going to draw it outside. طبعا احنا معلوماتنا ايه عن الكيوبويد؟ احنا عارفين ان الكيوبويد has 6 faces. تمام. I'm going to just highlight them. يعني مثلا ده وده these two faces they are exactly the same. And then if وبعد كده عندنا مثلا الفيس اللي تحت في ده اللي فوق اللي زيه. And then we have the one that is facing us اللي هو اللي هنا ده بالبينك. طبعا ده في واحد هنا ورا. Basically what is meant by the word face? The word face is a plane. يبقى what do I mean by a plane? A plane is another word for a face of the cuboid. يبقى أي face من الكيوبويد ده أنا أقدر أسميه plane. فهنا بيقول لي sorry, work out the value that the AH, work out the value of the angle that AH makes with the plane. First, let's see فين AH ده اللي الإكزامينر بيتكلم عليه. Where are these two letters on my diagram? Let's identify them. This is the H and this is the A. So the first construction that you have to do over here is a line connecting between these two letters. And this line, I would call it the flying diagonal. The flying diagonal أهو. I will join it بالشكل ده. اشمعنى AH؟ عشان هو اللي قال AH. فال AH ده بتاعي, now as we said earlier in our introduction, إنه any angle is made out of two lines. AH ده is one of the lines of my angle. AH is one of the lines of my angle. طيب, so we identified the AH. تعالوا نشوف بقى, where is the angle that AH makes with this plane? And as we said, plane means face. Let's highlight together this face that the examiner is talking about. Where is EFGH? أهو, هو ده. This is EFGH. This is EFGH. طبعا أنا يا جماعة لما شرحت السؤال ده في المدرسة لايف عملتها هاندز اون, يعني جبت لهم حاجة لايف كده ووريتها لهم شكلها عامل ازاي hands on. فأنا I'm just trying to يعني ايه explain it over here. Now as you can see, where is the angle? The angle is between this line and the highlighted yellow. And according to the definition, ما ينفعش يكون في angle ما بين line and plane. This is not a definition of the angle. The definition of the angle إنه it has to be between a line and another line. Now, this line over here is ال AH ده اللي احنا رسمناه. This is the first side of the angle. طيب, where is the other side of the angle? We are going to construct the other side of the angle. We will have to do another construction. أنا محتاجة إن أنا I construct this side over here. How do I construct this side? From the highest point of the flying diagonal. From the highest point of the flying diagonal. Drop a perpendicular line to the plane. Drop a perpendicular line to the plane. دي النقطة العالية بتاعت flying diagonal. I will drop a perpendicular. طبعا كلمة perpendicular معناها a line that forms a 90 degrees. I will just drop a vertical line بالشكل ده. أهو. I will construct a vertical line over here. It is constructed already. And then what will I do? I will connect between point H and point F. I will connect these 2 points over here, connect between point H and point F, تمام, to create a right-angled triangle. To create a right-angled triangle. The right-angled triangle is the triangle that is made out of these 3 colors, the black, the red, and the blue. Where is the angle? The angle is this, هي دي. So the second line of my angle is line HF. احنا بس هنعكس بس دول letters دول. اوكي, فين الريزر دي مش شغالة ليه؟ اهو. I'm just going to reverse these letters. هنقول ده ال A اللي هو flying diagonal. This is the H اللي احنا رسمناه من الأول. ودي point F اهي. So this is the angle that we are talking about. This is the angle that I am required to calculate. This is the angle that I am required to calculate. تمام؟ طبعا I'm going to explain this again in other examples. Let's take this triangle over here بألوانه, بنفس ألوانه, ناخده بره بالشكل ده. And see how do I use this triangle to calculate this angle over here. Now let's label the triangle HAF. طبعا this is a 90 degrees over here, and let's see what are the information that I have in this triangle. The only information that I have in this triangle is the red line, which has a length of 8. طبعا احنا already شرحنا trigonometry قبل كده وقلنا in trig to be able to start solving any triangle you must have minimum 3 items. طبعا أنا هنا I just have 2. So after I did my construction, what will I do? The first working out and the immediate step that you'd immediate أنا ليه كاتباها كده ليه خليني أكتبها بس مظبوط the immediate step that you do after constructing the triangle is calculating حتى I'm going to zoom أكتر calculating this blue line over here calculating البلو line ده أهو اللي أنا عاملة عليه zoom this blue line I'm going to calculate the diagonal drawn in the plane I'm going to calculate the diagonal drawn in the plane وهعمل حاجة لذيذة جدا I will use my trick علشان أوريكم how are we going to calculate this triangle لأنه this triangle always and forever sorry how do I calculate this diagonal always and forever is calculated by Pythagoras theorem and always and forever this blue diagonal that is drawn in the plane is a hypotenuse. I hope كده it is clear for you. يبقى after I do my construction تمام كده and after I create my triangle your objective is to immediately calculate this diagonal that is drawn in my plane تمام this diagonal is always and forever calculated by Pythagoras theorem and this diagonal is always and forever a hypotenuse. Why? Because this angle over here is 90 degrees. هتيجي تقولوا لي مس احنا شكلها مش 90 هاجي ارد عليكم نفس الرد واقول لكم مفيش حاجه بتتاخد بالشكل. It says in the question that this is a cuboid, so all of the angles are 90 degrees. So the first working out in this question is calculation of your diagonal, which is FHF. أهو. وطبعا هنا أهو, since it is a hypotenuse, so I add the squares of the other two sides. And then I do the math. 5 squared plus 17 squared, I will get an answer of root 314. طبعا this is a third. Preferably keep it as a third, or if you prefer, you can always use the answer button. تمام? Now, let's go back to the triangle that contains the angle that I wish to calculate. We just calculated the blue line, which is FF, HF, اللي هو root 314. Now, I can easily move on to step number 2, which is calculation of my angle. طبعا since this is a 90-degree triangle, يبقى I am allowed to use صح تقى. This is the opposite of my angle. This is the adjacent of my angle. So I use the toa. And since I am required to calculate an angle, I use the toa in the inverse form, tan inverse, the value of the opposite divided by the value of the adjacent. And then on your calculators, please يا جماعة, make sure that your calculators are set on degrees before you solve any trig question, O-level trig question. So if your calculator is not set on degrees, just press shift mode and then select degree. Now on the calculator, I will calculate my angle over here, 8 over root 314. And then I'll get an answer of 24.3 as the question here said. The answer I got on the calculator was this 24.2975 and so on, but here it says round to 1 decimal place. This is the first decimal place over here, so your answer is 24.3. Your answer is 24.3. Okay, so let me go through the construction again, because if you know how to construct your triangle and where is your angle, then the rest will be super easy for you. But again, it depends again on your trig skills. So let's go through the question كده super quick and summarize what we did over here so that you understand how do we do the construction. Now, the question says, find the angle between AH and the plane. On the plane is another word for a face. Now let's look for these two letters. These are the two letters over here, A and H. The first thing that you have to do is construct this line over here. أهو. And this line over here, I called it the flying diagonal. Okay. وبعد كده, I identified the plane given in the question. Here it says the plane EFGH. So I'll just highlight it as follows. Okay. Now, as we said in the introduction, مفيش angle في الدنيا عبارة عن line وplane. الانجل لازم تكون ما بين line and another line. Now, I will do another construction, another very, very important construction. I am going to construct, so this is the first side of my angle, which is the flying diagonal, اللي هو طالع لفوق كده. I am going to construct the second line of my angle, and this line is going to be another diagonal, but it's a diagonal drawn in my plane. It's a diagonal drawn in my plane. How do I construct this line over here? ده هعمل له construction ازاي؟ أول حاجة عملناها, from the highest point of the flying diagonal, من النقطة اللي فوق دي, I will drop a perpendicular line to the plane. هنزل 90 degrees كده to the plane. I will drop a perpendicular line to the edge of the plane. And then what will I do? I will connect the first point of my diagonal with the end of الأحمر ده. I will connect H and F بالشكل ده. And this is the diagonal that I will construct in the plane. الdiagonal ده هيبقى موصل بالنقطة اللي هي ال H والprojection بتاع point A. Where is the angle required? This is the angle over here. هي دي الangle that is between line AH and the plane. Okay. أخدت التراينجل ده وطلعته بره كده زي ما انتم شايفين بنفس الألوان بتاعته. I am required in this question to calculate this angle over here. Now, as you can see يا جماعة, these are the steps أهو. Step number 4 is immediately calculate HF, the diagonal which is drawn in the plane, اللي هو ده الأزرق. قلنا we're going to calculate this blue line over here. And as we said, how do I calculate this blue line? I will calculate this blue line from this triangle over here. This triangle is 100% a 90-degree triangle because it says it's a cuboid. And as we said, this diagonal is always calculated by Pythagoras theorem, and it is always a hypotenuse. So these are your steps 1, 2, 3, 4. Construct the the flying diagonal, drop perpendicular, draw the diagonal in the plane, calculate the diagonal in the plane. And this diagonal, as we said, is always by Pythagoras theorem. We calculated it, and then I wrote the value on the diagonal, and then I applied صح كحتوقة to simply calculate this angle over here. Now, if you understand this, then most of the questions will almost be the same. So let's check another example related to there's actually one over here. Oh, let's look at this question over here in the same classified. Let's look at the question. Actually, there's one in the notes. Yeah, so let's do the one in the classified first, and then I'll move on to the one in the notes. Okay. So as you can see, هنا بيقول لي the diagram shows a triangular prism with a horizontal base. Now you have to know the components of the triangular prism. A triangular prism عبارة عن 2 triangles and 3 rectangles. 2 triangles and 3 rectangles. And of course, let me show you where are the rectangles. The rectangles are, this is the one that we have in the base. وطبعا since it's a rectangle, then the angles are all 90 degrees. And then there's the one in the front. أنا حتى دايما يا جماعة لما كنت بشرح الدرس بتاع ال 3D trig ده بقول لهم إنه ال triangular prism زي الشوكولاتة التوبليرون. لو عارفينها كان في شوكولاتة كده عاملة زي المثلثات اسمها توبليرون وكمان شبه الخيمة. It looks like a tent. And then there's this rectangle at the back. This rectangle at the back. Okay, so why is it important for you to know that we have 3 rectangles? Because the rectangles is an indication of 90 degrees, is an indication of 90 degrees. And since I have 90 degrees, so I can use Pythagoras and صح. طبعا we have to identify the equal sides in case we need them. Now, all of the parallel to the 18 are equal to 18. And what else do I have in this question? I just have VM. I have the 10 over here. So this is 10. أهو المنقط ده 10 فده 10 برضو زي. Okay. So we identified the equal sides. Let's see بقى هنا. What information am I given in this question over here? This is in your classified part 2, same classified, page number 148. Same classified, page number 148. The question here says, okay, M is the midpoint of AD. ما المستفاد إنه M is the midpoint. Now, as we said, these two sides are parallel. Therefore, they are equal. So AD, I'm going to write it over here. AD is equal to 10. تمام كده. And since M is a midpoint, that means it divides AD into two equal parts. So AM is equal to MD is equal to 10 over 2, which is equal to 5. And since the examiner indicated that M is a midpoint, means that I must use it in the question. Otherwise, it will not be given. And then the rest of the sides are given as follows: DC kaza, BC kaza, MV kaza. Now, again, going back to the question itself, calculate the size of the angle between VC. Now, as we said, the 3D trick questions is all about the construction. Okay, وكلمة construction يا جماعة في الماث يعني إن أنا برسم sides، بزود sides بإيدي. First, I will construct VC. Now, let's look where are these points. This is the first point, and this is the second point. So VC is a line joining these 2 points over here. VC ده هنسميه flying diagonal لأن هو طاير كده لفوق. This is the flying diagonal. أهو, this is the first thing that we're going to do. في ناس بقى بتعرف تكمل construction على طول، بس let's do it one step at a time. Okay? So we constructed the flying diagonal. وزي ما اتفقنا يا جماعة, this is going to be the first side of my angle. ادي ال V اهو وادي ال C. Now I need to know where is the other side of my angle. لأنه زي ما اتفقنا الانجل لازم two sides. Now here it says calculate the size of the angle between VC and plane ABCD. Now where is the plane? اهو. Let's highlight the plane together. ABCD. This is the plane that I'm going to construct another line in, or another diagonal. So we identified the plane. Why did I identify the plane? I identified the plane because I am going to construct the other side of my angle in this plane. I'm going to construct the other side of my angle in this plane. Or in other words, I'm going to construct a line or a diagonal in the plane. Construct in the plane. Construct the line in the plane. How do I do that? How do I do that? Very, very easy steps. From the highest point, drop a perpendicular to the plane. إيه ده؟ المسألة دي البربنديكولر ده نزل في الميد بوينت عادي جدا. المسألة اللي قبلها البربنديكولر نزل في الفيرتكس في الادج، مفيش مشكلة. اوكي، ويا ريت يا جماعة بس نركز انه البربنديكولر لاين ما بيترسمش كده. perpendicular يعني vertically down. اوكي، so it's vertically down over here. طبعا احنا we're dealing دلوقتي في مسائل بتاعت البريزمز. المسائل بتاعت البيراميدز are almost the same. الفرق بس انه when we construct the diagonal when we drop the perpendicular بينزل في النص في السنتر. I'll show you how. So how do I construct on a drop perpendicular from the highest point and then join M and C? Join these 2 points together. Join these two to create what type of triangle? To create a right angled triangle. Where is the angle? This is the angle over here. So drop perpendicular and then join M and C together. to create a right angle triangle. So this is the angle that you are required to calculate. Let's take this triangle. فالانجل بتاعتي اهي. قلنا VCM اهو، هذه الانجل اهي اللي انا عايزاها. وطبعا خدوا بالكم انه VM already اصلا مرسوم. Now let's take this triangle outside with the same colors. Okay. And let's see. So this is your construction and this construction must be done. ودايما يا جماعه انا لما باخد التراينجل بطلعه بره مش لازم اخده بنفس الشكل، مش فارقه يعني. اوكي، انا يفرق بس معايا ان انا I identify where is the 90 degrees, identify the letters and the sides that I have. خدوا بالكم ان انا عندي VM which is equal to 7. This is the only side that I have. Immediately after your construction, where what will be your first working out? Your first working out is calculation of MC, calculating the diagonal that I created in the plane. Calculate the diagonal that I created in the plane. And how do I calculate this diagonal? بصوا كده أنا هعمل إيه يا جماعة؟ How do I calculate this diagonal? أنا هاخد التراينجل ده بره هنا. MDC أهو. This is M, this is D, this is C. تمام؟ خدوا بالكم إنه this D is a 90 degrees because it says a horizontal base يعني rectangle. DC is given as 18. MD we calculated earlier as M. This is the diagonal that I need to calculate. And as we said earlier in the previous question, this diagonal is always and forever calculated by Pythagoras theorem, and it is always and forever a hypotenuse. So the first step in your working out after your construction is 5 squared plus 18 squared. And then you will get your answer of the diagonal طبعا. 5 squared plus 18 squared. تمام؟ هتطلع لي الإجابة root 349. Root 349. And this is the answer of, this is the length of MC, which is the diagonal. Now I will move on to step number 2 immediately. I will move on to step number 2 immediately, which is calculation of this angle over here. Calculation of this angle over here. طبعا since this is a right angle triangle فأنا I am allowed to use صح كحتقى. This is the opposite. This is the adjacent. So again I will use tan inverse. Opposite over adjacent 7 over, let me just make sure that I did the calculations correct. Yes, 7 over root 349, and then I do the math. Shift tan 7 over root 349, and then on the calculator I will get an answer after rounding to 1 decimal place into 20.5. 20.5. So we did a question of cuboid, we did a question of triangular prism, of a triangular prism. Now let's see more questions related to this part over here. Now this is another example over here, and most probably this is going to be the last example. طبعا with you have your classified, you can practice more, and if you have any questions you can let me know in school, or you can just give me a comment on the YouTube channel. هنا بيقول لي A, B, C, D, E, F, G is a cuboid. Again, it's an indication of 90 degrees. AB is given as 16. طبعا we know that all of the parallel sides are equal to 16 as well. Since M is given as the midpoint, so this is 8 and this is 8 as well. Now I have 15. All of the parallel sides, they are equal to 15 as well. Now let's look at the question here and what is the difference between this question and the previous one. كل اللي أنا عايزة أقوله لكم يا جماعة إنه المسائل بتاعة ال 3D trick they're almost all the same. It all depends on your construction. والconstruction كله شبه بعضه مفيش اختلاف. هنا بقى قال لي إيه؟ BM makes an angle of 24 with the base. So the examiner gave me the angle. يعني هو اداني الانجل، قال لي الانجل اصلا الفاليو بتاعتها 24. بس do I have to construct? Of course. Let's see بقى how do I construct it super quick. Okay. BM. تمام. Although I'm not a fan of BM cars, I prefer Mercedes صراحة. BM, so this is the B, this is the M. Construct. Now, the flying diagonal, guys, doesn't have to be from edge to edge. مش لازم يبقى كده. The flying diagonal could be between any point on the plane and a point on top. يعني أي point فوق أي point تحت، مش فارقة. طيب, do you think you can do the construction without reading the question? يعني let's pretend كده إن ده مش موجود. أهو. تعالوا كده نشوف how will I do the construction immediately بقى من غير ما أبص. Okay. So from the highest point, drop perpendicular. From the highest point, drop perpendicular, join from M to G immediately. To create what type of triangle? A right angle triangle. Where is the angle? This is the angle over here. يبقى تاني كده خلينا نشوف الكونستراكشن بسرعة. اوكي لأنه we don't want to waste time في الامتحانات. أهو. Construct the flying diagonal. أدي 1 2 3 وهرجع تاني 4. ليه هرجع تاني 4؟ 4 دي means إنه step number 1 must be immediate calculation of this diagonal over here, the highlighted yellow. Okay, so let me do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see what are the 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, construct the flying diagonal. 2, drop perpendicular. 3, join for point M. 4, calculate this side over here immediately using Pythagoras theorem. على طول خلاص. طبعا where is the angle؟ الانجل اهي. تمام اللي هي 24. يا جماعة ال 1 2 3 4 دول ثابتين ما بيتغيروش. Now let's take the triangle outside and let's see what am I given in this triangle. I am given actually the value of the angle. And of course, I know that this is 90 degrees as I dropped a perpendicular line. So please remember the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. What about 1, flying diagonal. 2, drop perpendicular. 3, join to get a right angle triangle. 4, immediate calculation of MG. And MG is going to be calculated using this triangle over here. And of course, this is a right angle triangle. This is 15 and this is 8. So from this triangle, I will calculate MG. And as we said, always and forever, MG is calculated by Pythagoras theorem. 6 squared plus 15 squared. I will get an answer of 3 root 29. 3 root 29. معلش بس نسيت اكتب الليترز. ادي البي وادي الجي وادي الام هنا عندي وادي الام اهي موجوده. اوكي. Now اصلا انا كل ده ولسه ما اعرفش السؤال عايز ايه. The question says calculate the height BG of the cuboid. يعني I am required to calculate this side over here. طبعا since this is a right angle triangle فانا I can use صح كح and تقى. Now this is the opposite and this is the adjacent. على فكرة هي مش كل المسائل بتبقى tan. هي بس صدفت ان هي التان. So I'm going to use the تقى and I'm going to use the تقى in the normal form tan opposite over adjacent because I'm going to calculate the side. I am required to calculate the opposite, so I immediately multiply the adjacent and the tan. So 3 root 29 multiplied by tan 24. أتأكد بس إن أنا عاملة الكونستراكشن صح، قصدي عاملة حسابات صح. Yes, D3 root 29, and I am required to calculate BG, opposite adjacent. So this is the opposite, this is the adjacent, and I want the opposite, so it's 3 root 29 times tan 24. Answer times tan 24. And then on the calculator, after rounding to 3 significant figures, the length of BG is 7.19. 7.19. Okay, so these are 3 questions about 3D trigonometry in prisms. تمام. Pyramids are almost the same, it's just the construction is different. I can create another video for pyramids. Okay, لأن احنا دلوقتي we discussed 3 questions with prisms. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope that this video was useful to you. If you require anything يا جماعة, you can just give me a comment on YouTube on what questions that you require. Thank you. Have a good day.